The Horn of Africa is a region steeped in history, but also burdened by conflict. Old rivalries simmer. New alliances are formed. At the heart of this volatile mix lies a complex web of tensions, fueled by political maneuvering, competition for resources, and the legacies of past wars. Ethiopia, a regional power, finds itself at the epicenter of this storm, grappling with internal strife and external pressures. Meanwhile, neighboring countries like Somalia, Eritrea, and Egypt watch closely, their own interests intertwined with the fate of the region. The specter of wider conflict looms, threatening to destabilize the Horn of Africa and send shockwaves far beyond its borders. The recent conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region, though formally ended in 2022, continues to cast a long shadow over the Horn of Africa. The echoes of war are still felt in the daily lives of the people, as they struggle to rebuild amidst the ruins. What began as a political dispute between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, quickly escalated into a brutal civil war. This war not only divided the nation, but also drew in neighboring countries, complicating the conflict further. The conflict resulted in widespread human rights abuses, including ethnic cleansing and sexual violence. These atrocities have left deep psychological scars on the survivors, many of whom are women and children, struggling to find a sense of normalcy. It also triggered a humanitarian catastrophe, displacing millions and pushing the region to the brink of famine. The lack of basic necessities like food, water, and medical supplies has exacerbated the suffering, making recovery an uphill battle. While a fragile ceasefire is in place, the underlying grievances remain unresolved. The peace talks have been fraught with tension, and the road to lasting peace seems long and uncertain. The scars of war run deep, fueling mistrust and hindering reconciliation. Communities that once lived in harmony are now divided by suspicion and fear, making the process of rebuilding both homes and relationships incredibly challenging. The situation in Tigray serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked violence. It underscores the urgent need for comprehensive efforts to address the root causes of the conflict and to support the healing and rebuilding of this war-torn region. The 2022 peace agreement between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF offered a glimmer of hope for the war-torn Tigray region. However, the path to lasting peace remains fraught with challenges. The disarmament of Tigrayan forces, a key provision of the agreement, has been slow and contentious. There are also concerns about the Ethiopian government's commitment to accountability for the atrocities committed during the conflict. The humanitarian situation in Tigray remains dire, with many areas still cut off from aid. Furthermore, the conflict has exacerbated ethnic tensions within Ethiopia, leading to outbreaks of violence in other parts of the country. Building a sustainable peace will require addressing these deep-seated issues and fostering reconciliation among communities torn apart by war. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power in 2018, promising a new era of peace and prosperity. His rise to leadership was seen as a beacon of hope for many Ethiopians who had long yearned for change and stability. He implemented sweeping reforms, including releasing political prisoners and making peace with Eritrea. These actions were hailed as monumental steps towards democratization and regional stability, earning him the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. However, his ambitious agenda has also faced significant challenges. The rapid pace of change has unsettled many, leading to widespread protests and ethnic clashes that have threatened to unravel the social fabric of the nation. Abiy's attempts to centralize power have been met with resistance from some regional governments, fueling ethnic tensions. These regions, which have enjoyed a degree of autonomy, view his centralization efforts as a threat to their self-governance and cultural identity. His government's handling of the Tigray conflict has drawn international condemnation, damaging Ethiopia's reputation. The conflict has resulted in a humanitarian crisis, with thousands displaced and many more in dire need of aid. Furthermore, Abiy's grand economic plans, including the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, have raised tensions with Egypt, which relies heavily on the Nile River for its water supply. The dam is seen as a symbol of national pride in Ethiopia, but a potential threat to water security in Egypt. While Abiy's ambitions hold the potential to transform Ethiopia and the region, they also carry significant risks, particularly if not managed carefully and inclusively. The success of his vision depends on his ability to navigate these complex challenges, balancing the aspirations of his people with the realities of regional politics and international relations. A tangled web regional and global players. The Horn of Africa, a region marked by its strategic location and complex history, is a focal point for both regional and global powers. This area, rich in cultural diversity and natural resources, has become a battleground for influence and control. The tensions in the Horn of Africa are not confined to Ethiopia's borders. Neighboring countries are deeply entangled in the region's conflicts, each with its own set of interests and concerns. The intricate web of alliances and rivalries extends far beyond the immediate vicinity. The region has become a stage for a complex geopolitical game, with regional and global powers vying for influence. Diplomatic maneuvers and military strategies are constantly at play as nations seek to secure their positions and advance their agendas. Egypt, concerned about the impact of the GERD on its water security, has taken a more assertive stance in the region. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD project, has heightened tensions, as Egypt fears it could significantly reduce the flow of the Nile River, a lifeline for its population and agriculture. It has strengthened ties with Sudan and Somalia, forging alliances to counterbalance Ethiopia's growing influence. These diplomatic efforts are part of a broader strategy to ensure that Egypt's water security is not compromised. And there have been reports of Egyptian military activity in Eritrea. This military presence is seen as a move to project power and secure strategic footholds in the region, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. Meanwhile, Somalia, struggling to rebuild after decades of conflict, finds itself caught in the middle of the rivalry between Ethiopia and Egypt. The nation's fragile state makes it vulnerable to external influences, as it seeks stability and development amidst the ongoing power struggles. The involvement of external actors, such as Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, further complicates the situation. These countries have their own strategic interests in the region, often aligning with or against local powers to advance their geopolitical goals. These countries have established military bases in the region, creating a network of foreign military presence that adds another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Their involvement is driven by a mix of economic, political, and security considerations, and are actively pursuing their own strategic interests. The presence of these foreign powers often exacerbates local conflicts, as they provide support to different factions and influence the balance of power. The influx of arms and foreign fighters into the Horn of Africa is fueling instability and increasing the risk of wider conflict. This proliferation of weapons and combatants not only threatens regional security, but also poses a significant challenge to international peace efforts. The Horn of Africa remains a critical flashpoint, where the interplay of regional and global interests continues to shape its future. A looming crisis. Humanitarian concerns. The escalating tensions in the Horn of Africa are exacerbating an already dire humanitarian situation. Millions of people in the region are facing acute food insecurity, driven by conflict, drought, and economic instability. The conflict in Tigray has displaced millions and disrupted agricultural production, pushing the region to the brink of famine. The situation is further compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has strained healthcare systems and disrupted livelihoods. The international community must act urgently to address the humanitarian needs of the region. This includes providing life-saving aid, such as food, water, and shelter, as well as supporting long-term development initiatives to build resilience and break the cycle of poverty and conflict. Averting disaster. The need for urgent diplomacy. The escalating tensions in the Horn of Africa demand a concerted and urgent response from the international community. The priority must be to prevent a further deterioration of the situation and to avert a catastrophic regional war. This requires a multi-pronged approach that includes diplomacy, mediation, and conflict resolution. The African Union, the United Nations, and other regional actors must work together to facilitate dialogue between the warring parties and to encourage a peaceful resolution of the conflicts. It is also crucial to address the underlying drivers of conflict, such as poverty, inequality, and climate change. Investing in sustainable development and promoting good governance are essential for building lasting peace and stability in the region. Seeds of hope. Paths to a peaceful future. Despite the daunting challenges, there are glimmers of hope for a more peaceful future in the Horn of Africa. Civil society organizations across the region are working tirelessly to promote peace, reconciliation, and human rights. They are building bridges between communities, providing humanitarian assistance, and advocating for political solutions to the conflicts. There are also signs that regional leaders are beginning to recognize the need for dialogue and cooperation. The recent rapprochement between Ethiopia and Eritrea, after decades of hostility, demonstrates that even seemingly intractable conflicts can be resolved through peaceful means. The international community must seize upon these positive developments and work with regional partners to create a more conducive environment for peace.